Hey, Adam, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be talking to you today.
Good. Adam Hudley is with the Hegwood Law Group, and they deal with trust, estates, probates, elder law, family, and he has a wealth of information to share to people who are homeowners, whether you just bought a home or whether you've been in a home for a while. Some of the tips and things that he has to share are very important. So I thought I would bring him on so he could share that with us.
Yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity to really, get some tips out there on, what to do and what not to do and how to avoid probate, what probate is. That's a big question that we get from a lot of people. What exactly is probate?
Okay.
And you know, probate is the process in which your assets would be distributed by the court after death. So if you have a will that says my house should go to my kid, then it just because you have a will that says that, it doesn't mean that it automatically gets transferred to them. You're going to have to take that will and go through court to have that ownership transferred to the beneficiary. So that probate process, I tell people when I meet with them, it's about a 6-month from start to end process. If there's no disagreements or litigation, we've had probate cases go on for years and end up costing thousands of dollars in court costs. And it's something that is very easily avoidable.
Wow.
Yeah. So our goal here at Hegwood Law Group is to do what we can and put the proper estate planning documents in place to make sure that we can avoid probate at all costs. Because our goal is to make it easy for the family's loved ones. When you lose a loved one, you're already going through a difficult time. You're grieving. If you're going to have to be dealing with a judge or going through court or creditors, after you've lost a loved one, it's not an easy thing to do.
Right.
So we try and make it as easy as possible for the family that have been left behind by their loved one to get access to whatever assets that were left to them.
So if they don't have money to hire an attorney for the probate process, what do they do? Or how does that work?
Well, so probate, it depends. There's different kinds of probate. There's, probate with a will. There's probate without a will. There's different things that you can do depending on if you meet the different, criteria. So there's like affidavits of heirship and stuff like that can be done in lieu of going through probate. It just depends on everybody's situation. So, if you don't have the funds or access to the assets, to help pay for an attorney to go through that probate process, there are, of course, the legal aid clinics in downtown that are great at helping through those processes. And what a lot of people don't know is you can also go to, local university law schools, because many of them will also have like legal clinics that will provide that type of legal aid. That way everybody has equal access to the help that they need if they can't necessarily afford to hire an attorney to take care of that process for them. There's a lot of different resources that are available to the public that ensure that the process can get done in order to properly transfer anybody's estate or assets to their beneficiaries.
Okay. So let's say I have 2 children and I want to leave my house to one of them or one of the grandchildren of my children. Is there something that I can put in place other than a will or a trust? Or is there like a deed on death document or something that I can to avoid all of that?
Yeah, absolutely. If you have like your homestead, for example, and you're wanting to leave it to, to your kid, one kid, two kids, it doesn't matter how many, because we can split, the ownership. If say you have two kids, we can leave the property to both of the kids 50-50 by doing what's called a life estate deed. And the life estate deed will transfer the ownership of the property to you or to the beneficiaries upon death. And all they would have to do is file what's called an affidavit of death once they receive the death certificate. And then that would transfer the ownership over to them. We don't necessarily, it's now a life estate deed is commonly known as a ladybird deed. That's different than the transfer on death deed. We don't normally always recommend doing a transfer on death deed just because it doesn't provide the same protections that a life estate deed does. Transfer on death deed still allows the creditors to come back. So if you pass without, or if you pass away and you have debt, those creditors can still come back and claim the estate, even though, that property didn't necessarily go through probate. It leaves it open for, I believe it's 2 years.
Wow.
And the life estate deed will transfer it, but it doesn't allow the creditors to come back and claim against the estate. So it's a really useful tool. Now, if you're wanting to leave property or anything like that to minors, the only way to, efficiently do that is to leave it in trust. And then if you're, wanting to make sure that the property or any of your assets, financial assets, are not, completely blown through, you want to have some spendthrift provisions in some kind of trust planning. But there are different estate planning tools to utilize and take advantage of to transfer those assets, while also avoiding probate.
Okay, so let's say I'm not dead. I'm not planning on dying for another 20 years, but I have this property that I've got a lot of equity in. I've paid it off. Let's say maybe I don't have any children to leave it to, but now I need help and I need to go to assisted living or nursing home or, something like that. What would you recommend then?
So definitely speak with an elder law attorney. You need to schedule an appointment with not just an estate planning attorney, it needs to be an elder law attorney, because especially if it is skilled nursing, or a rehab facility of some sorts that you're needing help with, the elder law attorney will help you navigate what benefits are available to you to help pay for that cost of care if you're, if you have private insurance and they won't cover it, if you're on Medicare and Medicare only pays a certain amount of days, then we can start looking at Medicaid and see if they'll cover the cost of that long-term care if you're needing, to stay in that long-term care facility for a period of time. Now, there's a lot of different things that come into, applying for Medicaid. There's a lot of different requirements that have to be met, such as income and assets and stuff like that. But that's what an elder law attorney is there for, because they know all the ins and outs of Medicaid and they know what we can do to help get you qualified for Medicaid, even if you think you may not qualify. That way we can protect whatever assets you do have, such as your home, and you have a lot of equity in it, it's paid off, now we'll be able to protect as much of your assets and properties and income as we can, then get that taken care of and get you the care that you need in whatever kind of long-term care facility that you may need to be transferred to or transitioned to, because a lot of people that go into the hospital, and they're told that they cannot go back home because the level of care that they need is too great for home health or home care, some type of home care. and they are transitioned straight from the hospital to a skilled nursing or a rehab facility or assisted living. So speaking with an elder law attorney is a great way to find out what benefits you may already qualify for, but also kind of give you an idea of what we can do to help you qualify for Medicaid benefits that you may not be eligible for right now.
Because I think of Medicaid as, I really don't have any money, because that's normally for what they say poor people.
Right.
But, I'm not poor. I've got my house. I've got money saved up. But would I still qualify for Medicaid, or that's just something that's on a
We
case
can.
by-
It's definitely a case by case basis, yes. But coming in and being completely transparent with your elder law attorney is super important, because if we send off a Medicaid application and there's a bank account out there that you didn't tell us about because you wanted to try and hide it from Medicaid,
Mhm.
Medicaid's going to know. Medicaid already knows.
Mhm.
So, you have to be completely transparent with your elder law attorney in order for us to get the big picture, to get a clear idea of what needs to be done to help protect those assets, the money you've saved, the property you've invested in. There are a lot of different ways that we can help qualify you for Medicaid. But I will say, if you're in the position where you're in the hospital and you get transitioned into skilled nursing and you did not do any kind of estate planning, that's where you run the risk of losing almost your entire life savings, because there are different things that we can do now ahead of time to help prepare for the possibility of needing long-term care. So for instance, if dementia runs in someone's family and their parents had it, their grandparents had it,
Mhm.
and there's a good chance of themselves developing that disease, they'll want to come in early, early on, 40s, 50s, early 60s, before that diagnosis, so that they can plan for their possibility of needing long-term care or memory care in the future. And the earlier you do it, the better, because Medicaid has a 5-year look back period. So when you apply for Medicaid, they're going to look back 5 years and see if you've done any kind of shifting around of your assets. And that could potentially lead to, penalties. So there's a lot that comes into play with Medicaid planning, and that's why we say it's a case-by-case basis. But for the most part, if you go about it the right way, almost anybody could qualify.
Interesting. So your law firm does do elder care and estate planning and probate and all that, right?
We do, yeah. So we do basically everything that falls under that estate planning umbrella, which, is the estate planning. So wills, trust, powers of attorneys, stuff like that. We do specialize in elder law. So we have 2 elder law attorneys on staff. One is actually studying to take her CELA exam, which is Certified Elder Law Attorney, and that's a nationally recognized group. So we're excited about that. But elder law encompasses, the need of long-term care and preparing for it.
Okay.
Or Medicaid, what we call Medicaid crisis planning. So if you're in the hospital and you're getting transitioned to a skilled nursing or memory care community, then you need Medicaid like right now. That's crisis planning. So we do specialize in that. We do assist individuals and families through the probate process, as well as guardianship. If they have a loved one that has become incapacitated or disabled and they do not have the powers of attorneys in place, we will help them through the guardianship process as well. And we do serve the greater Houston area. So, pretty much all of Harris County, Galveston County, Brazoria County, and a few of the other surrounding counties.
Okay, so we're in a world of do-it-yourselfers. What is the what is your recommendation for people that want to do this themselves? I want to do my will. I downloaded a form online. I can do my own will. I can do my own. What's your recommendation for that?
Yeah, especially during this pandemic, right? We've been pushed into a more virtual world. So there are definitely a lot of different forms, like for powers of attorneys and last wills and testaments that you can download and fill out yourself online. And trust me, I've seen my fair share of some people that I've met with bringing the ones that they've done. And I mean, it's a 50-50 shot. It may work, it may not work. It really depends on what probate court you land in and if the judge approves it. It's going to have to be a will that is executed according to the state law. There are different things that there are different requirements according to state law that have to be met in order for a will to be considered valid. So if that do-it-yourself will or do-it-yourself power of attorney doesn't meet all of those requirements, then you run the risk of it not being approved, and then you're stuck probating without a will, which is a good way to allow the state to control where your assets go. If you pass away or become incapacitated or disabled without a will, probating without a will is more difficult than probating with a will. But if you want your assets to go to certain people, then you need to plan. If not, if you don't care where your assets go, then Kim always says that if the best revenge for people you don't love is to not plan. And it's true, because you pass without a plan and they're in for a world of stress. So, if you love your kids, if you love your family and you don't want them to go through that trouble, some kind of plan needs to be put in place. And having a do-it-yourself type of estate plan always runs the risk of causing more problems than not. If you have done a do-it-yourself will, at least try and get it reviewed by, an estate planning or elder law attorney, because especially with the powers of attorneys that you can print online, they're not as comprehensive as an elder law attorney power of attorney, because, for instance, I've seen powers of attorneys come through our office for review that are like anywhere from 2 to 5 pages. Just to give you an idea of the difference and how comprehensive ours are, our powers of attorneys are like 12 to 15 pages. Like, it's almost 3 times, the length, I guess, 3 times as much as the content as some of these do-it-yourself powers of attorneys that I've seen come through. And 9 times out of 10, those do-it-yourself powers of attorneys don't give the agent the proper authority to act on their behalf to plan for long-term care. So if you do have a power of attorney that doesn't grant your agent specific authorities to gift or to have, the authority to plan for your need of long-term care, then, that opens the door for guardianship. Because if you need to do something to get them qualified for Medicaid, but that power of attorney doesn't give you that permission to do so, then you're going to be looking at guardianship, which is, what we do powers of attorneys to avoid going through.
Right. Oh, wow. So I'm going to start putting a packet into my closing for all of my real estate closings to have them contact you, so that once they get this asset of a home, it can protect it and they can will it to, whoever they want to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm more than happy to help anybody out there that has any questions about what to do to protect, this house, this investment property, this, family home that was just purchased. And, especially if you have minor children, we want to be sure that they have a place to grow up in if something were to happen to their parents. we're very family oriented here. And, I appreciate you, having me on to talk about this, because that's what we believe 100%, that in order to make an informed decision, you have to be educated. So we do a lot of community outreach and education just to, allow people the opportunity to be informed of what can happen, or what may happen in your situation. And everybody's situation is different. Everybody's situation is unique. So, just because something works for one person doesn't necessarily it's going to work for you or your family, because everybody's different. But absolutely, I'd be grateful to help any of your clients. I love working with you, so I'm sure you have great clients, and I have no problem helping them out whatsoever.
Thank you. Oh, so how can we get in touch with you and your firm?
Yeah, absolutely. So our main phone number, our main office is located in the Clear Lake area of Houston. We do have satellite offices all throughout Houston, but you can call the office. Our phone number is 281-218-0880. You can also visit us online at our website, hegwoodlaw.com, and that's HEGWOODLAW.com. Or if you want to email, you can email me directly, and my email is Adam, ADAM, @hegwoodlaw.com. That's HEGWOODLAW.com. And I'd be more than happy to answer any questions, get you scheduled with the proper person in our office to make sure all of your questions and concerns get addressed. But yeah, feel free to reach out anytime. And if you or your clients ever have any questions or need anything, feel free. I'm here.
Thank you. I appreciate that. One last question. Do you guys do Zoom calls or virtual calls? Or do I have to come into the office?
No, you don't have to come into the office if you don't want to. And that's completely okay. We do in-person appointments at our main office here in Clear Lake, or we can do Zoom calls. Right now, due to the pandemic, some of our satellite offices have not reopened yet. So like we have one in Katy, one in Sugar Land, one in the Galleria area. And right now, I think the only ones that we have open are in Katy in the Galleria. So we can meet at those if we need to, but Zoom tends to be a lot more convenient for many people. So we can absolutely have meetings via Zoom.
Where's the one in Katy? I live in Katy.
It's off of I-10 in the Beltway. It's a sub office, and it's located in Bain and Bain. So we have like a little rental satellite office there.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for the information. I hope it's been helpful to people. And I appreciate you coming on and telling us all about the benefits of having this and using your company.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity to get on here and talk. And if there's anything that you ever need or your clients have questions about, feel free to reach out. It was a pleasure to talk to you about all of this today. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. I did too. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.